It took me 7 months to learn 3 lines that forces people to a trance, but you can't use it every single time, otherwise it won't work. I used it to add 100,000 followers in 5 weeks. Miko just used it and did 340,000 views. And Coach Steve, with only 700 followers, used it for the first time and did 44,000 views. So what I found is there are 3 lines that the top 0.1% of educational content creators use that get them extreme results. But the interesting part is they have to be said back to back. Whereas average creators might say them sporadically here and there, the top 1% never miss. So in this video, I'm gonna show you what those 3 lines are so you can use it with your own content and get some great results. Let me show you how. So the first line, as you probably figured, is the hook, but not the way you're probably thinking of it. I'm sure you've seen those reels that go 10 hooks that always work. I don't know who needs to hear this, but yada, 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 yada. That stuff don't work because those are tactics. Tactics only work when it's not common knowledge. Once it becomes common knowledge, it fails. It's like investments, right? So any investment that is really safe will probably have low returns, but any investment that has high returns won't be that safe. Instead, you want to learn principles because unlike tactics, they never change. That's why whenever you try to use one of those viral hooks where you commented on a video that said, hey, if you comment the word hooks, I'll send you 1,000 viral hooks. You try using that and it never works. And it only ever works for the person that created that reel that told you to comment hooks. And the reason is because those tactics are overdone. Everyone is using the same hooks. And if another person does a reel that says like, oh, I don't know who needs to hear this, but every single time, I'm sure you see it, you skip it because you just know it's a bait and switch. Instead, what you need to focus on, the principles of hooks, is the emotion of curiosity. If you're able to create curiosity within the first second or 2 seconds, you will stop the person's growth. So what is the most effective way in order to create curiosity? Let's talk about it now. So let's say you're a finance creator. Most of these content gurus will teach you to just sell the dream. So you might make a piece of content that says, here are 3 ways to save $10,000 this year. It's decent, but it only takes the viewer from 0 to 100 by selling that gain, that potential gain, right? Instead, imagine if you said, most people struggle with saving money, but it's only because they don't understand these 3 things. The delta is instantly doubled because we first take the viewer from 0 to negative 100 by saying most people struggle with saving money, so they relate to the pain. But it's only because they don't understand these 3 things, taking them all the way to 100, making it way more effective. There are many ways to do this, but the easiest way to start is to just use the word but in your hook to create contrast. So here's a hook framework you can use today to instantly double your views. And notice how I said framework instead of some sort of copy and paste tactic, because once you understand the framework, it doesn't matter your niche, your topic, your content, you will be able to create curiosity effectively. So I'm teaching you how to fish instead of giving you the fish itself. So it's very easy to create curiosity. All you have to do is state a common belief and then contradict it. That's it. That is my favorite formula. So I'll give you an example. Most people think calls are required in order to sell high ticket, but I sold $5 million without a single call. So you're thinking, how is he able to do that? Creating curiosity. Another example. Most people think getting 6-pack is hard, but I got one without changing my diet. You're like, how is that possible? Curiosity. They'll keep watching. Most people think saving money is hard, but it's only because they don't understand this one thing. What is that one thing? So that is the way in order to create maximum curiosity. And if you're in the right demographic, you can always state a common belief within whatever topic you're talking about, right? You could talk about 6-pack abs. You could talk about saving money. It can be whatever. Most people think that making an Americano that isn't bitter is hard, but it's only because they don't know this secret technique or whatever the hell it is, right? It doesn't matter how niche or how broad your topic is, you can always state a common belief that like everyone typically has within your demographic. And that is the most effective way in order to create curiosity. So the second line is called the primer. And I've not seen a single creator teach this, but if you use this, it will double your viewers' curiosity, as if the hook didn't create enough curiosity in the first place. The way I discovered the primer was through a conversation I had with a friend. So I was at a cafe with my buddy and we were just sitting and chatting, and he was on his phone as I was talking to him. And because I wanted for him to pay attention, I uttered a few words on accident. And miraculously, he put down his phone, he looked up and he was like fully locked into me. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I didn't know this was possible. So the first category of primer is the secret. And that's the one I said to my friend on accident. And the words I used was, okay, I'm gonna tell you something, but you can't tell anyone else. His ears, eyes, everything, attention instantly perked up and stared right at me because they want to be in the know, right? You're hinting that you're sharing secret and something valuable, so the curiosity goes right up the roof. So this is Karina. She used to be media relations for Elon Musk. And so the way that I told her that she can apply this secret type of primer into her content is just by using her NDA as an excuse, right? So after hook, she could just say, my 2-year NDA just expired, so I can finally share what I'm about to say. Or I can finally talk about what I'm about to share. Some version of that, where you're hinting that what you're about to share is secret. But the second type of primer is under this power or dangerous information category, where we're hinting what we're about to share is dangerous. So I might say a hook, I'll give you a hook example, which is, show me another creator that teaches this for free. And then my power primer or danger primer will be, I was told not to share this, so what you do with this is on you. That instantly creates this dynamic of like, what I'm about to share next is so strong that I was actually told not to share this, so what you do with this is on you. Like, I'm not responsible. That tees up the curiosity and spikes it, right? So my hook already creates curiosity. Show me another creator that teaches this for free. So I'm saying that no one else teaches. I was told not to share this by my team, so what you do with this is on you. Doesn't that instantly just create that feeling of like, oh, okay, I'm locked in. Like, it's double the amount of curiosity I've had. I'm ready for what you're about to say next. But the third type of primer is what I call loss. And an easy example is just saying, it took me losing everything just to learn this. Or I invested $50,000 in therapy just to learn these 2 things. They don't want to invest $50,000, so they'll take your word for it. But the strongest one of all is this fourth category that I call morals. So the easiest way to explain it is, you know how in movies there's always this one guy that gets into a bad situation, and instead of like getting up and like rectifying the entire situation, he drags his friends into the wall, like into the deep end, and like they're both in this like messed up situation now. That's kind of how I feel like this moral primer is used. So what you can say is, I'm trusting you with this, please don't abuse this. If you say this after a hook, it's like you're getting them involved into whatever you're sharing as well, so you're now on the same boat. And that's that feeling that you're trying to create. It's like, I'm trusting you with this, it's important information, please don't abuse this, which you're hinting that like the information is so strong that it could be abused or unethically used or whatever it is. Obviously you will adjust it depending on what you're about to share next. You're not gonna say like, I'm sharing something that's like very easy and it's not actually that special, and then you use like the morals type of primer. So depending on whatever the information that you're about to talk about, the insights, you're gonna adjust the primer. But by using the morals primer, if you're sharing something that's like super powerful, it will get you the whole way, because like you're saying, I'm trusting you with this, please don't abuse this. So now that you've set the hook and the primer, the viewer's curiosity is at an all-time high. But none of this is gonna work if you don't say the third line. And that third line is what I call a super hook. And it needs to give the viewer a reason to watch. You see, we're scrolling on our feed passively, not, it's not like YouTube where you're watching, you know exactly what you're clicking on and why you're watching it. When you're scrolling, you don't know what's coming next, right? So once we stop their scroll, we still need to give them a reason to watch. If there is no reason to watch, they're just gonna move away. So the purpose of the super hook is to give them that reason. And there are 3 ways in order to create a super hook. So the first type of super hook is what I call results. And you've actually already heard one at the start, because I said I grew 100,000 followers in 5 weeks. And that gave you a reason to stick around. Because if I'm teaching you about content and getting 100,000 followers with educational content, and I haven't done it myself, why the hell would you listen to me? And that's the reason why I say it. But there are more than one way in order to deliver this like result super hook. I'll give you some extreme examples, right? So let's say you're in this business niche and you've sold your company for $100 million, right? So you might say, I sold my company for $100 million. Here are the 3 things you need to know about sales. You're like, okay, that guy has sold his company for that much. He's super credible. He has the results to back it up. I will trust him and take his word, so I'll keep watching. Right? We're giving the viewer a reason to watch. Another extreme example, if you're a chef, might be, I was on MasterChef Canada. here's the best way in order to cook pasta. And you're like, okay, you're on TV, I will trust you. So these are just ways that you want to be able to demonstrate that you've gotten that result in order to get the viewer to listen. I've bench pressed 350 pounds. Here are the 3 ways in order to train your chest. Okay, you bench super heavy, I will trust your word. I will take your word and I'll learn from you. I'll stick around. But I know what you're thinking. What if I don't have any results yet? I'm just getting started, which is why the second category of superhook is what I call effort and time. And effort is something that is universally understood and respected. So let's say you are in this business niche and you said, I studied 200 Alex Hormozi videos for 3 weeks straight. Here are the 3 things you missed about content creation. I don't want to spend 3 weeks studying 200 videos, so I'll take your word for it, right? Because you've put in the effort in order to do so. Or you could be, another way with like time could be, I spent 17 years as a diving instructor. Here are the 2 things you need to know when you're going down for your first dive. Now this might be somewhat like results related too, but time and effort can always be applied in order to give the viewer a reason to watch. I spent 72 hours studying French. Here are the 4 lines that you'll always use on a day-to-day basis. No one wants to put in time and effort. So because you've done it for me, I will give you my time in order to trade to get that value. So that is the second type of super hook, which is effort and time. But the last type of super hook is super strong, pun intended, because you can steal or leverage credibility. So let's say Harvard just published a research, right? And you're talking about tomatoes, for example. You're a food nutrition creator. You could say, Harvard just published a study on why eating tomatoes are bad. So we leveraging and stealing, the credibility of Harvard in order to use for our content to get the viewer to watch. You can also say, like, if you're in health and fitness, someone that's super credible might be like Brian Johnson, right? So Brian Johnson just did a study on how long you're supposed to sauna. So here are the 3 things that I agree or disagree with. That would be another way to leverage and steal someone's credibility. A third way would be like to talk about like companies. So Google just published this is what happens afterwards. So we can use these names and work it into our third line in order to get people to stick around and watch. The whole purpose of the superhook, like I said, is to give the viewer a reason to watch. That's it. So this is the holy trinity of hooks. We use the hook to create curiosity, we use the primer to double that curiosity, and then we use the superhook to give the viewer a reason to watch. So the whole thing put together would look something like this. Most creators think that writing hooks is hard, but it's only because they don't know these 3 lines. I was told not to share this, so what you do with this is on you. But the 4 times I used it added over 100,000 followers. This leaves the viewer no choice but to watch your content. But everything we talked about today with these hooks is only a fraction of what it takes in order to build a 100K personal brand that gets you leads and clients every single week. If you want to know the other steps, check out this video. I outline all the different stages in order to get to 100K and the steps within each stage in order to do so. So click there and check it out. See you on the next one.